Good morning, Tribesters. One of my followers, Zoe, pointed me out to a video that one of the breeders who I outed about a year ago, has been on the warpath with me. She is a breeder that really is heavily involved in Betelgeuse lines. The owner of Betelgeuse Kennels. I've known of these guys since I got my first Doberman from Pride of Russia, and I met this guy that was a breeder in Serbia who was freaking amazing, who busted the lid off of these breeders because he's a Serbian cop and he had a very small kennel, and we were in a group and he befriended me and we started talking, and he told me, Diva, these breeders in Eastern Europe think Americans are suckers because he, as a police officer, this is like 15 years ago, okay, just say it's around 15 years ago, he made 300 euros a month being a police officer. Had to drive 2 hours to work back and forth to his little town. He said half the time there's not a vet within a 2-hour drive. So these guys do their own vet work because they can't get him to a vet. So I had another breeder tell me that, why they don't do health testing over there. Another breeder told me that they use studs under 1 year of age. They start exposing their stud dogs to bitches at 7 to 9 months. So they've had no health testing at all. And these are big names, big names. The owner of Betelgeuse Kennels, in a chat with a few hundred people, harassed another breeder who was kind of a mentor to me back in that day. She had American lines that had some longevity. They were typical American looking dogs, you know, bitches are 50, 60 pounds, dogs are 70, 80 pounds. Typical old style Dobermans with some longevity. Do they look like Obi-Wan Kenobi? You know, that was Betelgeuse's claim to fame, was Obi-Wan Kenobi. He said, I would rather have an entire kennel of dogs who die at 5, who look like Obi-Wan Kenobi, than have any dogs that live to be 15 who look like yours. Now tell me, 15 years ago, if this was his mantra. He was already making, according to this cop, 10 times what he would be making if he sold the dogs in Europe, because Americans were gullible, he said, and these Eastern European guys cater to the fact that Americans are impressed by these big heads, these big stocky dogs, and so the trend for the big heavy Eastern European dogs began 15 years ago. And Betelgeuse spearheaded the whole push to push their dogs that they can't sell, and the dogs that their own internal groups like Alto Bello, Tahi Rami, all these Vital Screen, Hunotera, Angels and Demons, Black Damon, all these fucking breeders would all collaborate with their own dogs, and they would sell the shit dogs, according to this guy, to the Americans. And back then it was 2,000 euros, and the euro, when I bought mine, was $1.42 a euro. So almost $1.50. I paid 2,000 euros for my European import out of Pride of Russia. So I got that foundational information long ago and thought, who the fuck would buy a dog from this piece of shit that is totally unaffected by the fact that his dogs are dying from 2 to 7 years of age, and basically saying to you and I, if you get 5 years out of this dog, they're so beautiful, you should just fucking be grateful that you don't have an ugly dog like this breeder on the East Coast. So, you know, I've avoided them like the plague, and I also did a ton of, you know, pedigree research that showed that the inbreeding that goes on and the tight or very close line breeding that goes on with these dogs in Eastern Europe is literally like a mafia over there, because they all work together with their dogs, and they have created an entire market because the American people are gullible, according to them. This is their words. Their words are, we're fucking gullible. We don't do our research. We don't know what we're doing. And so we think these guys do. And so we buy their dogs. So this breeder, she's in Colorado. She just imported a couple more dogs from Betelgeuse and is breeding them. She just did a live on YouTube. And she interviewed some of her mentorships, 2 breeders that, shut up, Phoebe. Phoebe! Bad dog. Phoebe's my best watchdog, actually. She's freaking awesome. She interviewed these 2 girls, and one of them admitted to using her stud dog, 7-8 months, and they disparaged me, saying, I breed Boo-Boo. I breed Boo-Boo? I've bred Boo-Boo. Where are his puppies? Where are Boo-Boo's puppies? And they were disparaging Boo-Boo because they said he has 1 testicle. He doesn't have 1. He's cryptorchid. He has no testicles that have descended. He comes from amazing, amazing lines. Now, I'm reading a book right now. I'm going to go get it and show it to you. Hang on a second. Okay, this is the book. Born to Win, Breed to Succeed by Patricia Craigs. You need to get this book. And here's why. Because this book actually has education. This right here is called Bonehead Genetics. Darwin, Mendelian, and Me. Genetics. Now this is the shit that's my bailiwick, okay? Because I actually took at UC Davis as a veterinary genetics understudy person. I had a 101 level. And I was taught this stuff. Genetic order. Genetic information comes in 2 forms. Traits that are observable at birth and traits the individual is genetically programmed to have that appear later in life that can sometimes account for so-called genetic predisposition. Many traits are polygenic, meaning that more than 1 gene is involved. The more genes that are involved, the harder it is to achieve consistency. The DNA molecule carries the basic genetic information of each individual, and DNA is the messenger service. Nature has an orderly way of getting genes from each parent to the other. The process begins in each parent. Blah, 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 blah. This is shit every fucking breeder who's breeding needs to know. You need to know what the contributors from the past and early bloodstock breeders are. You need to know what the foundation of your breed is and what it goes back to. How many founders do we have in this breed? There are 3 founders. 3. We, as breeders, need to educate. Rather than disparaging these breeders, I'm going to show you why they don't know what they're doing. And I'm going to do a series that incorporates sections of this book and my own understanding and the latest technology, which is through betterbred.com. Join it. Join it. Go read the blog. I'm going to create a blog so that I can educate this stuff as well. And I am attempting to get onto some platforms of not breeders per se, but talk shows that talk about animals and get this information about Betterbred and UC Davis Veterinary Genetics Labs testing and how to use it. Because these breeders that are disparaging me are talking about how they've done the DNA testing on their dogs and they know they're safe now. They did an Embark test. And now they're proclaiming and heralding that their dogs are safe because they know what's in their DNA. Embark is a joke. Period. The end. UC Davis Veterinary Genetics Labs, and learning how to use that tool and getting this book is the first thing you do if you're a breeder. And it's time to learn what of your dogs you need to alter and remove from your gene pool and what things you can breed to and not. And you can breed to cryptorchid, and I'll explain to you another time why. But there you go. This is this morning's message.